What's up, everybody? Welcome back. John Levesque here. It has been a minute since I have brought you a Power Automate tutorial, but I was talking with some friends and we decided it was about time to show you some new stuff, a little different stuff than we've shown you in the past. And so, as usual, I have someone here with me, and I brought back my boy Yash to come and show us some new Power Automate goodness that he's been working on. Yash, how you been, man?
Hey John, I've been good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't believe it's 2022. I can't believe we're already 3 months into it. I still feel like I'm lost in time somewhere in 2020. But other than that, I'm doing well, man. I'm ready for this new year and to kick some ass in it. How about you? How you been?
I've been good. Again, the time loss thing, so it still feels like 2021. Where is it? But yeah,
Totally. Yeah. Okay.
hopefully 2022 brings good.
You know what? I feel like it's gonna. I'm feeling real positive about 2022. It's been a good start for me. I've been getting back out there, having some adventures, living some life again, not just sitting in my house, doom scrolling. So it's an improvement for sure. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. Well, Yash today is going to bring us something new, a little variation on some things that he has showed us before. So, Yash, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you're going to do today? But before that, for those of the people who don't know you, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'll just switch to a few slides that I have. Basically, in today's video, we'll be talking about sending pre-filled forms using Google Forms and automating that with Power Automate. Before we start, a little bit about me. So I'm Yash Agarwal, and I'm a Power Platform consultant based out of India. I'm a Microsoft MVP and MCT for business applications. I'm also a super user on the Power Apps and Power Automate community forums, and you can reach out to me by scanning this QR code on the screen or follow me on Twitter and my blog from the links on the screen. And in today's video, what we'll be doing is we'll be seeing how we can create a Google Forms form, and we'll see how we can integrate some data from SharePoint and automate these two using Power Automate. So
Awesome.
I'll
Awesome.
just first show a form part, and then we'll see what exactly is a pre-filled form, how are we going to send that, what's the purpose of it. So
Okay.
on my screen over here, I have a very simple small form called as data update form. I have a field over here which is called as an email address, a name, and a phone number. So this form is basically auto collecting the email address, and it's a mandatory question for everybody to fill. But then there's a name and a phone number over here. Most often, what happens is when we send a form to somebody, it's a plain blank form that they'll have to fill up from scratch. Now,
Mhm.
what if you had a certain set of data already available for that person, but you just want them to update certain fields or certain things, or let's say if you recreated or added some more questions to the form and you just wanted a response on that, but the user should also refer to the previous responses that they have provided on a set of questions. So how would we do that? So for that, we have this Google form over here, and we can fill this up and create a pre-filled link, and then we'll just start automating that with Power Automate. But before that, I'll also show you a piece of code over here which is required, so that once this form is filled, we send over the new responses to Power Automate and then finally update SharePoint.
Okay.
So let's first get the pre-fill link, and then we'll come back to the code and everything.
Okay.
So over here, I have this data update form. What I can do is close this part here. You can click this three dots, and this is a plain Google form, so you can start creating one from scratch. And I have this option to get a pre-filled link. Once I do this, it'll open a new tab and show me what all can be filled. Email is a default field, so we cannot fill this. But in the name, let's say I put my name here, and in the phone number, I put something, and get link. Now this returns with a link over here, and if I paste that in the browser, you'll see that it has the form ID first. This is the form ID, and after that I have the fields over here like entry dot double six. This is a unique code for the name field where I see this Yash plus Agarwal, and then in the other entry where I had the phone number, it's again a unique field over here, and the field is equal to this. So we're going to construct this dynamically for from SharePoint existing data, and then send it over to a user so that they can fill it up and then finally update their own data. So let's say I
Nice.
copy this over and switch to my flow environment.
And now, just to clarify, the reason we're doing this in Google Forms is because this is a limitation in like Microsoft Forms, right? It cannot do
That
this.
is correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that is correct. We cannot get a pre-filled link for a form in Microsoft Forms yet.
got it.
So what we'll do is, I'm going to start a new flow here. It's going to be an instant cloud flow. So we'll manually trigger it, and I'm going to place that for a selected item in SharePoint. But before that, we'll first create a SharePoint list here.
Okay.
So I have a test set up already. I'm going to create a new list from blank, and let's say customer responses. Or let's do this as employee responses. And the title would be the email address of the person. We'll add another column and store their name, and another column to store the phone number.
You notice that Yash
So,
is just using single lines of text for this stuff. He's not trying to get fancy. Flow loves
yeah,
strings. Power Automate loves to consume strings. So just use single line of text for most of this stuff. It makes it way easier.
yes. And on the form also, I just have two questions to so that it's less complicated, but we can add as many as needed, and whatever the platform supports, obviously. So for a selected item in SharePoint, so that user can directly just go there and select which person should refill the form and send it over to them. So I have the test site here. In the list, I'm going to select employee responses, add a new step, and first we're going to put a compose. And over here, I'll paste that URL that we copied. So now you see that I have this view form name and entry as over here. What we have
Mm-hmm.
to do is we have to replace this with dynamic data. So I'll remove this part and just directly put the title over here. Or after triggering, we'll also have to get the item.
Right. So for the selected item, get the item, which basically brings forth all the metadata.
Okay.
Now in our compose, which is basically just like an empty bucket, we can put whatever we want in there. Now we have all
Exactly.
the items we're looking for.
Correct. Now you must have seen that when I first pasted the letter, pasted this space has been replaced with a plus over here, which is
Mm-hmm.
what we'll have to do in our flow also, or else it's going to uh, send a wrong URL and they'll see an error. So just
Got
copy
it.
this over, and on the expression we're going to write a small replace expression, and we search for a space, replace with the plus. Okay. And now for the phone number, assuming that people don't add spaces over here, we'll directly pass the phone number. But again, for safety, we'll just replace that also.
Can't be too safe on something like that. Better to have a fail safe than have the fail flow. The flow fail.
Yes. Now we have this configured. So the next step would be adding an email action. Now, in this example, we just have a very straight off list in SharePoint where we are getting the data and constructing the URL. But if the requirement is where you want to get some data from other sources like a SQL Server or Dynamics and Dataverse, you could do that also.
So meaning I could pull from multiple places, not just SharePoint. I
Yes.
could grab additional data from somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can
Nice.
combine a lot
Okay.
of other data sources also. Like in, let's say, in SharePoint, we just have email address and phone number, but in Dataverse, we have their address and other details stored. So we use a
Got it.
common identifier, get all the details, and finally construct this URL over here.
Nice.
In the two, we are going to put the title. Where is this one? And by that, I just realized that we did a small error over here. So we put the title here instead of the name. So I'm going to remove that and just put the name back here.
I'm gonna leave that in. I'm not gonna edit that out. I'm gonna
Yes.
so people can see that actually happen. Sometimes errors happen in a flow, and it's good to
Yes.
recognize. And so instead of cutting that out and editing that, I'm just gonna leave that so people can see, and they'll make that same change.
Okay, and please update your details. You can just say hello and put the name here. Update your contact details using the now, just so that the user doesn't see a shabby email, we'll just put that into an HTML part. Switch to code, and within these two, we'll put the outputs. So we have this ready.
Hmm.
I'll clean my flow as send form to update data and save the flow.
I like that little clever drop the output into the link.
Yeah, it's like I can directly even switch to HTML, but writing that code is a task again. So
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Just a nice little touch too.
and then I come back to test site here. Let's say I'll create a new entry. So in the title, I'll put my email address from here. So I'll just open up Outlook.
It looked like it didn't go in.
Okay, so I'm going back to Flow, and I'll just copy over this email address. So it sends over the form here,
Mm.
and we'll paste it here. Let's say name is again. I'll put this one, and in the phone number, I'll put 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0 and save. Now I'll trigger the flow from here by going to automate, and it should show up.
That integration's getting nice.
Yes. While this is running over here, okay, it's already here. So come back here and we'll see the run history. Succeeded. I'll have the email here now, and it put this over here. Update your details. I'll click the link and let's see what it shows. So as you can see, it has the name and it has the phone number also. And
Nice.
since it's not signed in with Google, it requires me to put the email address again,
Yeah.
and I can update the form and submit. So once we have this form, it's like if I update this and submit, it is not going to update the SharePoint back, for which we're going to use a small code component on Google Forms. So if I come back to my code component over here, you can see that we have a function which is like setup trigger, and this should trigger when somebody clicks the submit button on the form, collect all the response or all the field data from the form, and then create a JSON object of it and send a post request to this flow URL that we have. So I'll just get rid of this flow URL from here. We'll have a new one, and that is going to come from a new flow. So I'll start creating that flow first. I'll come back here, and you'll see that we're going to create an instant cloud flow. This is you're going to use the when an HTTP request is received trigger. So once somebody submits, the Google code is going to call this particular flow, and then we're going to use the outputs of the data and update SharePoint. So
Okay.
I'll add a new step and let's just add compose here first. I'm going to collect the body and I'm going to save this flow only after which we get the URL. So get the updated data and ship and save. Now we're just going to copy this over and put it here. Save this. Let's just do a small quick debug for our lambdas. Alright, there's no error, so it should work. I'll come back here and I have my pre-fill form open, so we're just going to make some small changes and submit this. Okay. The email is required because we're not signed in with a Google account, so I'm just going to get this email address and paste it here. We'll see that it's submitted. Now we should see a run over here, and there you go.
Got it. Nice.
So we have all the relevant data, and you'll see that it's a part. It's like an array, and each response to each question is an element of that array. So we're going to extract those and then finally update SharePoint.
Okay.
So let's start quickly editing this one, and I'm going to add a new step. So first we have to get the item from SharePoint that we have to update. We're going to use get items, and in our scenario right now, we've used the email address as a unique identifier. So we're going to get the item based on that.
Okay.
And from the test side, we have this, and we're going to add a filter query over here. So the filter query says title, which is our email address field, and SharePoint PQ, and in single quotes, we'll just put body. It's over in the expression. We're going to put trigger body of 0 because that was the position of the email, and just going to put email here. Once we get once we get the item that we have to update, I'm just going to add an action to update item. And as I mentioned previously, since we have the email address as a unique identifier, um, even though an apply to each loop would appear once I add the ID here, it's not going to matter because it's just going to get one item.
Okay.
I have this, and the get items will just copy over the expression because we want to put that on the email. And the name was at the second position, so we'll just do that. Okay.
First position is 0. Second position is 1. That's why he said that. Just letting you know.
Perfect. And save the flow. Now we'll just quickly repeat the process. So I'm going to trigger the flow here.
Okay.
And we have the email. So
Now you
just
got the
open the
form. Okay.
Now, okay, long paste. So
That's not it.
I'm going to copy the email and paste it here. Remove some text. And so now we go back to our SharePoint flow. We'll see that it succeeded on SharePoint. Okay. If you see that the name has been updated and the phone number has also been updated.
Nice.
So
Heck yeah.
we got the updated data. Yeah.
That's wild, man. I it's a bit crazy in how you have to put it together, right? Bringing a
Yes.
code snippet in and definitely doing a bit of massaging to a flow to get it to
Yes.
do exactly what you want. But the end result of this is so powerful. I mean, like we get contact emails where I work all the time about, is this your updated information? Go ahead and
Yes.
respond if this is all up to date. If not, update it. And so I could just see something like this, like feeding that system. You don't need to pay some third party system to manage that level of contact. You can just build it.
Totally. And also, it's like you don't have to update or provide all the information over again. You just update the bits that you want to update. So that
That's,
helps.
that's a huge one actually that I didn't even think about.
Yes.
How annoying is it to fill in a form when you know they already have the information about you? Yes, that's huge.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, man, Yash, any closing thoughts on this one, or should I wrap it up?
I think we can wrap. That's pretty much it from my end.
All right, awesome. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on and showing people some more flow goodness. For you at home, go ahead and check the description. There's going to be some links down there and how you can get in touch with Yash. I'll have that Google code snippet down there so you can download and use that. And if you have questions, just go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll be sure to see if Yash can come back and answer those for you. But otherwise, if you want to work with Yash, go ahead and go back to the beginning of the presentation here, where he shows his QR code. Go ahead, Yash, pull it up real quick. Perfect. There's his
Yes.
QR code. If you want to work with Yash, scan that, get in contact with him. He'd love to build some custom things for you and your company and show you how he can help harness the power of the platform you're already paying for. Cool. Good, right, Yash?
Yes, totally.
Awesome. All right. That's it from me, you guys. Go ahead and click like, get subscribed, leave me some comments. Much love from me. I'll see you in the next one.